It is a beautiful morning in the mountains of southern Appalachia. You can see the color beginning to show on the trees. It's a little airish this morning, in the 40s. Can you see that twinkling light up there, kind of in the middle of the screen? That's the sunshine trying to peek through. Even though it's only October, you can see how the sun has changed its path in the sky. And that little twinkle, I don't even know if you can see it or not up there, is the sunshine. That's how far behind the ridge it is now. But it is a lovely, lovely morning. Very peaceful. So as you might guess, this time of the year, the summer garden is all but gone. But there are a few little interesting things still going on that I want to show you this morning. We'll do a little garden tour. I'll show you how the fall garden's doing, and then show you some of the neat things that are still surviving even at this late date. We can start right here behind me. Look at these lovely dahlias. Isn't that beautiful? These have been blooming all summer. They had like a first flush, and then I cut them hard back all the way to the bottom of the plant because I thought maybe that was it. That's all they was going to do, and they had started just kind of falling off into the yard. But look what they've done now. They've all come back out. They're as high now as they were when I cut them, and there's lots of blooms, but there's lots of buds too. I'm sure the first frost will really take them out. Now, I've never really grown dahlias very much, so some of you need to tell me. These are in a grow bag. Should I dig up the tubers, the taters as we'd call them, and take them inside the house and let them dry out and then replant them next year? Do you think it would be okay to leave them out here? I'm not sure what to do. I had a great aunt, Ina, and she had beautiful dahlias, and they were just in a long row in her garden, her and her daughter and her son-in-law's garden. And she would dig hers up every year and take them in. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that's what I should do, but I don't know. Now, she lived just over the ridges this way in Pine Log, so her climate was about like mine is here, although she was not on the north side of the mountain like I am. So anyway, they're still lovely. It's just a beautiful, beautiful spot of the garden. This time of the year, all the flowers are looking really raggedy. This is the hostas that I wished I'd never put here. Maybe this will be the year I dig them up. I doubt it, but maybe. I can hope, right? Look at that big riding spider there. He had a bunch of his XXXs, but looks like something's happened to him. That was just yesterday or the day before. But the hostas are looking pretty pitiful. This is a peony back there. I have done some work in this little part of the garden, and this is part of where the dreaded mulberry weed was that I think made me sick. But I got it all pulled out and trimmed back some of the hostas, trimmed back the ivy. That's an ongoing thing, another thing I should have never planted, but I did. So over there next to the wall, I have thrift, and you can see how it's really filling in. I want to plant some spring bulbs behind it there, though. So I'm thinking about daffodils and tulips, and maybe crocus, the crocus in the front, and then maybe the daffodils and the tulips all mixed together. So that's something I want to do. I think they would bloom real early right there because the sunshine hits that, our wall, our block wall there of the basement. And so this is like a place that retains heat better than other areas of the garden. This is the little flower bed outside the kitchen window, and it's just there's nothing really left blooming except a Cosmo and one or two zinnias holding on. And the hostas, again, look terrible. Look at this thyme, though. Look how beautiful it is and how it's growed into this mat. I hope it just keeps growing, and I think it will. Here's some of the plants Aunt Wanda shared with me back in the summer. Here's one little anemone. They are growing. Here's another one of Aunt Wanda's with some mulberry weed right beside it. It's always great. There's a daisy, and there's some hostas that are, again, looking pretty rough. Some dianthus. This is what when the anemone, September charm, once it's done blooming, you can see all these little balls. That's what their seed pods look like. And they'll eventually turn into, there's one that's kind of turning. Well, not really. Eventually those little balls will open up and it'll almost be like cotton inside of them, or milkweed or something like that. Speaking of milkweed, we have a lot of it right there. You can see growing. When the wind blows, it's almost like it's snowing out here. That raised bed right there has our Egyptian onions in it, and they're doing good. They've even started growing outside of the raised bed, which is good. That's a good thing. The raised bed down there at the bottom has some of our herbs in it that we've really never used. They're medicinal, but we just wanted to plant them, and there they are. In this whole area, you can see, this is the time of the year, you can see how it's really, really overgrown. Especially right here, can you even see that bed in there? There's a bed in all of that, and that's one of our sweet potato beds. So a lot of that is weeds, and then the rest of it is where the sweet potato vine has just climbed over the raised bed and is starting to come down the bank and go up the bank. Lots of growth in that little area for sure. Give you a closer look at this one. Now this one, and there's another bed like this that's kind of, I don't know what to do about. This is where we had our garlic. Our garlic was really pitiful this year, and we waited too long to harvest it too. That was our fault. But even if we'd harvested it when we should have, it just didn't grow any bigger than what it was when we planted it. But you see what's happened. We didn't get it all. So that's all garlic that's just come back. So now I'm like, do I get my garlic that I've already bought to plant this year and just plant it in those open spaces, or do I find a different place for it? I'm not sure what to do. I probably will just plant it in those open places though. Me and Matt usually plant our garlic in like November, so still a little bit of time before we plant it. The roses that we planted beside the steps are blooming again right now. And, you know, when we first planted them, a lot of people was worried that we planted them too close to the steps and they would go, you know, go crazy and grow over top of it, and we'd constantly be cutting them back. Well, we did cut them back last year at the end of the year, but this year you can see they've just not really growed. So, and they've not bloomed very much either. So I know they're supposed to be, that's the knockout rose, is supposed to bloom, bloom, bloom just continuously. Well, these have not done that. So I'm thinking they don't like it, maybe the red clay, or maybe not enough sunshine. So all of you who have roses, knockout roses, tell me, do we need to move them somewhere else to really be able to enjoy them? That's what I was hoping, was that it'd just be continuous bloom, you know, continuous bloom. But it's not been like that at all. So I think they're not happy there. That's our other bed with some of the garlic and all that other, Matt would say, I've made it into a landfill. So all that other composting you see, that's me I've done that. I've been throwing my compost in there. So if I do plant garlic in that one, I'm gonna have to clean up my mess first, or just put another layer of something over top of it and bury it. So this is our other sweet potato bed here. You can see you still got a lot of blooms and a lot of growth. And this is where one of those really surprises is that I wanted to show you. I've showed it a couple of times, but you see down in there, look, it's a watermelon. That's just a volunteer watermelon. Matt and I are gonna get it here in a day or so and just open it up and eat it if there's anything in there to eat. I hope so, hope there is. You can see the vine is starting to die back on it. And of course, with these cold nights, I doubt it's gonna do anything else. But it's kind of protected with all the hugged up against the bed, and then with all this, you can't even hardly see it. I didn't even know it was here till Matt found it. You can see one of the sweet potato vines is growing all the way down the bank. It's headed for the yard. Here's one of the interesting things I wanted to show you too. Look at this tomato plant. So it first started, I'm sure, just volunteered. Maybe we dropped a little Tommy toe or something over there in the hostas that look really pitiful there. And Matt said, did you see that tomato growing out there? This has been, 2 months ago. I said, I did, I seen it. And so I said, let's just leave it and see what happens. Well, you can see what's happened. It's grew all the way over here. And it does have some tomatoes on it. Right here's some. Now, whether or not they'll get ripe before cold weather, I don't know, but it does have a few, and it's got lots of blooms. It's kind of protected here up close to the house, but of course it's not going to last as the colder weather continues to get here, and it doesn't like the 40 degree nights, I know. Still pretty interesting to have though. Just behind the lovely dahlia that I was showing you is a little volunteer tomato too. There's some that needs to be picked. A little yellow Tommy toe. It's been growing all summer though. This was the other bed that I cleaned out, and where the mulberry weed was actually just over on this side. Got it all cleaned out. We have 2 grapevines here, and they started out the year looking really great, and then they just kind of died. I'm not sure what happened to them, so I cut them way back to see if any new growth would come out, and it did not, so I think they really are dead. Got some onions, tom onions growing down there, but that's it. Back here in the back garden, pretty much everything's gone. There's a few little Matt's Tommy Toes still growing. Up there on the bank, that's where we still have a few peas that we need to pick. That's on mine and Matt's list later this week. We're gonna come out and get everything and just kind of be done with it. We got to get our winter squash. We need to get whatever peppers are up there, whatever peas are up there. The peas will probably, especially the Holsteins, probably save them for seed if there is any left. We've been eating on them just a little at a time, so I'm not sure what's up there. We'll get the peppers though and get all the winter squash and things like that and kind of be done with that part. But there are still some things growing back here. You can see the beautiful flowers. They've been so pretty this year. They've just been amazing. I just loved this little area. And then the winter squash that volunteered for us back here, it's still trying to put out and grow, although it's way too late in the year for it to do anything else. The flowers have just been so pretty, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I hope to take some cuttings of those begonias inside and see if I can get them to overwinter just sitting in my kitchen. My problem is I don't have much light because being on the north side of the mountain, light doesn't really come in any of my windows very good in the winter time. Really not even in the summer, but I'm going to try it. And now that I know impatiens will grow back here and do as good as those have done, I'm gonna repeat that next year for sure. Still plenty of things in the herb bed, and I wanted to harvest the basil, and I have not because I just felt bad with my mulberry reaction, so I've not done it. There's our lemon balm. And then here's the monstrosity of the pumpkin or winter squash that we let grow. You can see it's growing up through there, and you can see down here some of the ones we need to get. Some of them have turned orange. You can see a few there, and then some of them are still kind of this green color. On their way to turning orange though. Some tomatoes down there, and look at these beautiful, beautiful nasturtiums. Can you see that faint moisture? Of course, this is early in the morning and we get heavy dews here. Here's one, look at that. Look how those little beads of water just roll around like diamonds. More nasturtiums. I think they've been prettier this fall than they were this summer. I love to play with the water on them. More nasturtiums here. You can see how they've really growed out into the walkway. Now the first frost we have, when I come out here the next morning, they will all just have shrunk. Just be like they just melted overnight. Here's the other end of the big giant winter squash. You can see some of them laying there. Look at this over here, this nasturtium, how it's coming through on this side. Here's the beautiful coleus. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? These begonias are really pretty too. It seems like it took them all summer to actually get full though. Here's a calendula that has reseeded itself there. Fell out of these, I'm sure. This little part of you can see these are all dead. That was petunias. Here's some rosemary that I need to do something with, and more coleus. This has been a sweet little surprise right here. You see that bloom's kind of spent now, but it's a Sweet William. And I planted it, and then what happened is I had the squash and the zucchini that did so good in these raised beds, or not raised beds, grow bags, that they just took it over. They just went over top of it. So I thought it killed them. I mean, I tried once or twice to move them, but you know how squash and zucchini are. You can't really do anything with them once they get so big. And just kind of forgot about it. Well, then once I pulled all that out, all this new growth sprung up. So it was still alive, and it's been blooming. It's real pretty. So it was a neat surprise after planting it so early in the spring, but not really getting to see it bloom until fall of the year. This is the flower bed behind the house, and I cut it back a lot too, and you can see a lot of weeds growing in it right there. But this one of Aunt Wanda's looks the best. It looks real good, so maybe it'll be happy there. can see the yarrow back there. Now, I've been thinking about my lamb's ear back there. Y'all tell me again, you know more about it than I do. It's been there for 3 years, I guess. And look, it's beautiful. It has never bloomed one time. So, is that normal? Should I move it to somewhere else? It's so pretty, isn't it? A few zinnias holding on here. Old maids. Pretty. This was the lily that I had here, the tiger lily, and it puts out its little seeds like this along the stem. So I just was very lazy and cut the stem and laid it down here. So I hope some of those will, just like that one just did, fall off and maybe grow, and I'll have more. Here's one of the anemone seeds that's kind of doing that. Can you see the inside gets almost like the milkweed. It's like a little piece of cotton in there. They go by underground runners too, though, so they are kind of invasive. I don't know if they spread better by the seed or by the underground runners. I thought I was talking to you and I wasn't. I come down here with the camera and felt something on my arm and I thought it was a leaf. Can you see it? I don't know. Can you see it? The light right here is terrible because it's too dark. Maybe you can see it. I don't know. Let's see if I can move to a better place. Maybe the light's better here. Can you see it? I thought it was a leaf. When I carried the camera down here, I thought it was a leaf. It's a katydid. Poor little katydid. It's probably froze to death. You can see its little antenna moving. Katydids are done for this year. You have to wait for next year. I don't think they actually make it more than 1 year. Again, y'all probably know, so you'll have to tell me that. But you've been singing to me all summer. You've done a good job. I will miss your song until next year. I guess this is the katydid's farewell. It's come to tell me farewell. Now I've got to find a place to put it though. So this part of the garden is still humming right along. This is where we've got our fall stuff. Everything is doing so well, so good. I'm really pleased with it. We've had ample rain and we had a little bit of bug damage on the kale, but these really cool nights has done away with that. And I think the pestilence, as Matt says, will be gone until next spring when it comes back. But everything down here is doing really, really good. One of the things I've been most pleased down here with is look at this kohlrabi. Doesn't it look great? Doesn't it look great? So I'd never even had kohlrabi until Miss Cindy got me to try it, and I really liked it. And you can cook it, but it's really good raw too. We like it just to munch on it raw. But I had a kohlrabi a few years ago that I planted. I planted a lot of it, but one of them, I just kept cutting off the leaves of it, and I kept it going. I kept it alive like for 1.5 years, 2 years, I can't remember. It was amazing. It got really big, and the stem of it got really big, and it would look really ratty, and I'd cut it all off, and a lot of times I just fed all the leaves to the chickens, and then it would come back out. It was really amazing. I have still not went back and watched my own video to see what I planted right here. I'm beginning to think these are turnips. It seems like I planted some white, like a globe white turnip. So that may be what that is. I thought maybe it was the rutabaga, but I don't know. Look at that tomato right there. It's trying. It's got little blooms on it, but it's not gonna make it. So we had this one long row of fall things, and then beside it I had little squares of different stuff. So here's our first little square, which has got some ragweeds right in the middle of it, and a ground cherry that I'm gonna pull up, and a lot of zinnias that have reseeded themselves. But this is kale. This is a type of kale. This is Lacento, and it's doing pretty good. It didn't come up as good as I'd hoped, but it's okay. So many zinnias reseeded themselves where we plowed up, where Matt did. Aren't those pretty? They're just now blooming. This next patch that looks so great, we've been eating out of it, you can see right there. This is mustard greens. They will be better, I think, after the first frost. I think frost does something for greens. It just helps them. Although I love them. Like I said, we've been eating them and they've been good. More zinnias. Now we're into the real turnips. I know for sure these are all turnips. And we've ate a few of their greens too. And this, we plant like is it purple top? Purple globe? Something like that. The purple, you know what I'm talking about. That's the one that we usually plant. That's another type of kale there. Over here's some kale. And this was the ones you can see, I was talking about the bug damage kind of there. But that will soon be gone with this cooler weather. Here's more ground cherries that just need to be pulled up. Give more room for the kale to grow. So that kale that's kind of got the bug damage, it's just amazing. It's as good as the mustard. And then here's another. This is blue, I think blue scotch, maybe. It's just, I've just wrote blue, but I think it's blue scotch. And you can see, not many, little bug damage on it too, but not hardly any of the plants come up. And this nice little patch of greens, I see some bug damage on it too. This was the one I was trying because Corey bought it for me. Tasso, I don't know how you say it. Black Knight was the name of it. And she bought it for me for my birthday, just a little packet of seeds, because it said it was so cold hardy, it wouldn't even matter if it was under snow, it would keep growing. Of course, we won't be that cold here. It tastes, I've been tasting it, hadn't eaten any of it, really, just other than to nibble. It tastes sort of like mustard, but with not hardly as much bite as mustard has. Here's some of the very heavy mast that we had this year. Can you believe the acorns? It's just like a carpet of acorns out here. There's so many of them. In this little bed, there's nothing left growing, but there's a few things we need to get, like those pumpkins. There's one, there's a couple over there at the edge, and one lone butternut, so that's on mine and Matt's list to get. Down in this lower part of the garden, we have some calendula blooming. Isn't it pretty? Some dill still kind of hanging out. It's went to seed. I hope it reseeds itself. Maybe I'll have dill down through here next year. And then some carrots back there in the back that we've not pulled up yet. We probably won't pull them up just yet, like when we get to getting the pumpkins and the peppers and stuff. But it won't be long and we'll have to. Look at that really pretty blue ageratum. Isn't that lovely? That was a flower that Granny gave me years ago, and it spreads very, very easily. There's like a miniature one and a tall one. This one usually gets much taller than this. Isn't it pretty though? Also down here in the lower part of the garden is our okra. It's not really enjoying these cool nights either. It's kind of, you can see it's kind of turning the leaves a funny color. This year was not a good year for okra for us, just because the first we planted didn't do good, and then by the time we planted this, it was so late in the year. In this lower part of the garden, there's really nothing left. The blueberries are long since gone. In this little raised bed area, we have some beets. I've still got some beets there that I need to do something with. We eat some of them, but there's still some left, so. And they've really perked up with this cooler weather. Look at the greens on them, they look great. The sun's moved up a little bit, so now you can better see it shining there, what I was trying to show you earlier. But that's how low it is in the sky this time of the year. And as the winter goes on, it gets even lower. And then of course it comes back the other way once spring of the year arrives. Well, I hope you enjoyed walking around with me this morning, seeing how our garden is definitely on the way out, pretty much gone for summer, but how we still have that wonderful fall stuff just thriving, which is really, really nice to go through the winter like that, having something outside. Most of the time, the kale and the turnips and the mustard greens, all that will overwinter for us. It doesn't grow as fast during the winter. Like if I go out there and cut a bunch, it'll take it longer to come back, but it does usually. Now, if we have an unusually cold winter or unusually dry winter or something, it doesn't do as good. But normally, we'll kind of eat on it all through the winter, and then when those first days, warm days of February or March come, it really just springs back up. It'll just really come out, really grow fast, and we'll get to eat it again before we usually tear it all out and then plant our summer stuff. Pap and Granny never planted a fall garden. They never did, not once. Never do I remember them planting it. I knew other people in the community that would plant like a mess or a little patch of mustard greens or turnips or something like that. But Granny and Pap never did that. They never planted them. They just planted the one big garden all at once, and that was it. Whatever it did, and they enjoyed it till it was gone, and they didn't do no succession planting or anything like that. Planted a big garden though, but they didn't do any of that. And I don't remember how long, I can't remember how long Matt and I have tried to grow stuff in the fall of the year. I just love growing things so much. And when I found out that you could do that, I thought, well, I have to try it. And I've tried lots of different things over the years, but kind of settled on what does best for us is turnips and greens. Those are the things that seems like will last longer through the winter, but also will kind of germinate in that period of time when it's the end of summer, but, you know, still have some really hot days, but then have some cold ones. You know, it just is such a mixture of different weather patterns at that time of the year. So those are the things that seem to do best for us. So that's what we stick to. It's awful tempting though not to just plant all kinds of stuff. I'm tempted to plant everything. Now a lot of people ask me, well, why don't you just plant in your greenhouse and then you'd have it a lot longer? Well, that would be great, but like I showed you about the sunshine, the sun, even at this time of the year, will no longer hit the greenhouse. It won't hit it anymore the rest of the winter. I mean, you know, it's daylight back here, sure, but the sun doesn't directly hit the greenhouse, and so it doesn't stay warm enough in there. And even if it did stay warm enough, like if you put heaters and things like that, you wouldn't have that natural sunshine that you need to really grow plants. So one way I think back to when me and Matt built it first, which has been many, many years ago, when he first built it, we could have put it in a different place. You know, well, we should have thought of that. We were only thinking about growing tomatoes, like starting our springs, you know, our summer starts in there. That's what we wanted it for, mostly tomatoes and peppers, tomatoes and peppers. So if we'd only thought, we could have put it in a place that got sunshine all the time. But truthfully, here on the Goat Bluff, there is no place. So there wouldn't have been no place. We could have put it in the front up there, but that's our prime garden space, so we wouldn't have wanted to do that. So it is where it is, and it's really the only place we've got. We've talked about, since we've got the big garden back, Pap's big garden, that we might put one down there somewhere, and it would get more sunshine. Even that, it's amazing, but even the distance from here to there, the sun hits there more. We're just higher up on the ridge to the point the sun, you know, is going over us it that way, but this way it doesn't even reach us because it's behind the ridge. Anyway, we've talked about that, but I don't know if we'll ever do that, or because we hate to give up the garden area down there too for a greenhouse. So we'll see what the future holds, I guess. I hope you enjoyed seeing how everything was doing. I hope if you're growing a garden this year or this fall, if you've got, maybe you're in a place though that your summer garden is still doing really good, I hope you'll leave a comment and tell me all about it. I'm always interested in what you're doing too, and I'm glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia.